Welcome to Democracy-ish, a supersized version. I am Danielle Moodie.
And I'm Wajahat Ali, and I actually wanted to make today's show small. And
No, he didn't.
but you know what? Once you start connecting the dots to this Epstein Trump's crime syndicate, you know what, Danielle? It just shockingly, it actually engulfs a lot of people. And guess what, Danielle? None of these people in America are in jail. In fact, there's no investigations. I mean, it is just shocking. We would rather, in the United States of America, investigate Renee Nicole Good's widow for,
Mhm,
I don't know, existing as lesbian,
mhm.
rather than investigate an entire pedophile cabal. That's just so strange. What do you think about that, Danielle?
Yeah, I will tell you, all week long on the Danielle Moodie Show, I have been doing deep dive and just sorting through this Epstein syndicate and web because while sex trafficking, pedophilia should be enough, there is so much more that is at the core of this vile and disgusting group, powerful group of people. And on yesterday's show, which I encourage everyone to watch, I don't know if you saw, but The Economist put out an incredible deep dive that they were able to, with the use of software engineers and an AI tool called Reducto, go through the 3 million files, sort them out, and look at the 1.4 million emails, sort those out, and
Wow.
then create a list of the 500 uh potential co-conspirators, sort that out, and then go through the emails and create an alarm threat index.
It's called Inside Epstein's Network. Came out yesterday. I just posted it in our Substack. It's an interactive.
I spent over an hour yesterday on the Danielle Moodie Show going through that because I said, isn't it incredible that The Economist, a magazine, along with AI and software engineers, could do more digging and connection and make it clearer for the public in less than 2 weeks than the entire DOJ could do in over a year?
Or also, Thomas Massey and Ro Khanna, given 2 hours at Skiff, were able to find the names of 6 powerful men whose names were redacted by the DOJ,
Right.
i.e., protected. And one of those names is, wait for it, a name that we talk about often in the left hook, Leslie Wexner, the billionaire who's still alive and for some strange reason has given Jeffrey Epstein hundreds of millions of dollars, including a $70 million townhouse. And we knew from the Epstein files that in 2019, the FBI, when they arrested Jeffrey Epstein, had 10 co conspirators. There are 3 co-conspirators of the 10 named. I think we should know all 10. One of them, Ghislaine Maxwell. Another one, the French businessman Jean-Luc, I'm forgetting his last name right now, who died via suicide in a jail cell. And the
So
third one,
so many suicides.
a
It's like this
lot of
must be the
suicide.
most depressed group of people ever.
Suicide Palooza. And the third one was Leslie Wexner. It's just interesting how Massey and Khanna found that out in, I don't know, 2 hours. The Economist doing basic investigative research found out like in a week. Ellie Leonard, literally, who's an independent journalist and a transcriber, has been doing this stuff for 6 weeks and has found documents. But the Justice Department,
The
who's been
Justice
on top of
Department.
it for a year, who enlisted hundreds of FBI agents, kept them trapped in a room for 24 to 48 hours last year. Can you remind people what this Justice Department told that FBI unit to do?
Well, to get out probably a Sharpie and a legal pad because they seem to be not high tech and just pretty much go in and find Donald Trump's name and redact it. That's what they did. That's what they spent our tax dollars doing. And I continue to say that this is all part of the strategy that Steve Bannon told us all out in the open 10 years ago. Flood the zone,
Yep.
continue to traumatize them, continue to keep their heads on a swivel. And what The Economist has done, other independent journalists have done, is sort through this 3 million file dump that
Wow.
they assumed that we were never going to have the time, the energy, the attention span to go through. And folks are making this job easy and making Pam Bondi look complicit. And
I mean,
can you remind people when the Nixon scandal happened, who went to jail?
it was it wasn't Nixon.
It
Who
wasn't Nixon, but it
who
was
attorney,
his
right?
attorney
There you
general.
there you go. Attorney General went to jail. Yep, right. I think that was, and then Nixon got off scot-free. The Attorney General went to jail. Folks, Pam Bondi, that display on Wednesday,
I'm like, because I don't know, you couldn't call it a testimony.
that display was shameful. That display was sad, it was disgusting, it was pathetic, and it should infuriate you, because as the survivors were behind her, she didn't even turn around and look at them. At least Christy Nome looked at them, or I don't know, with whatever is her face, I think maybe looked at her. Pam Bondi didn't even look at her. And what Pam Bondi did, I don't know if you all have been following, for each and every Democrat who was asking her, her staff gave her handwritten insults. So she didn't even memorize the insults. She's like, okay, Raskin, yes. Insult, yes. Insult, Crockett. So this is what she did, right? Because she's not the Attorney General of the United States of America. I think it's very, very important. She is the defender. She's the defense attorney of Donald Trump, and she's the prosecutor against any and all of his critics. And I always want to remind you, just to infuriate you. Don't worry, we have enough stuff here to infuriate you in a good way. It's going to be righteous rage building. Very deliberate. We're going to build up some righteous rage and then allow you to exhale and release it, inshallah, in a positive direction by pressuring Democrats and elected officials. They have no problem investigating the widow of Renee Nicole Good, killing the investigations into Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good, lying to our faces and calling them domestic terrorists. But when it comes to a cabal of pedophiles, they have all the goods and they have zero criminal investigations, zero indictments. And who's the person who is mentioned more in the Epstein files, Danielle, than even Jeffrey Epstein?
I mean, he's mentioned more times than Jesus is in the Bible, and that would be Donald J. Trump. It would be Donald J. Trump. And so, let us start there. So Midas Touch went ahead and pulled this email December 2016. So what happened in November of 2016? Well, Donald Trump becomes the president, right?
Mm,
The election happens. In an email to Bill Gates, who we know is just the nastiest and most vile fucking person, who used his philanthropy as a cover up, basically, for how vile and disgusting he is. Jeffrey Epstein says an email to Bill Gates and says, "Come to visit the island. Come to visit the island. New administration people visiting." So Jeffrey Epstein tells Bill Gates to come to the island in December 2016 because, lo and behold, he has a boat coming in of new Trump officials that are coming to the island. And so you got to appreciate Representative Melanie Stansbury, because she decided to go ahead and put together a list of all the people in Trump's orbit that are included in the Epstein files. Obviously, you have Donald Trump at 1 million plus and counting, Melania Trump, who is the first tramp, lady. You have Howard Lutnick. You have John Filane. You have Paola Zempoli, RFK Jr., who, by the way, just this week told us that he doesn't worry about germs because he used to snort cocaine off of a toilet seat. And
that's
that man is our fucking Health and Human Services Secretary.
that
It
is not an
is,
exaggeration,
and that
Danielle.
it
It's
is not
literally
an exaggeration.
literally
You
what he
can
said.
Google it.
You can see the
Uh,
video.
it's on video. Then you have Kevin Warsh, Fed nominee Mehmet Oz. You got Elon Musk, Steve Bannon, Alex Acosta, former Secretary of Labor, who remind the people who Acosta
The U.S.
tried.
attorney in Florida who gave Jeffrey Epstein a sweetheart deal, even though there were nearly 3 dozen victims, he cut the deal with Epstein without informing the victims, gave him a slap on the wrist. He pled guilty to 2 criminal charges, one of soliciting a child prostitute, spent 13 months in jail. Nope, because 6 out of the 7 days of those 13 months, he was out with an ankle monitor where he continued raping girls. And then he was a registered sex offender. But considering that he had raped at least 3 dozen girls who were willing to come out and testify, or who had talked to the FBI, and they had him dead to rights, he should have been in jail forever. For some strange reason that nobody has explained,
So strange.
Jeffrey Epstein got a slap on the wrist, 13 months, wasn't even in jail the entire time, self-reported, and then got out and then continued raping girls.
Basically, they gave Jeffrey Epstein, a pedophile and sex trafficker,
Free card.
study hall once a week for a few hours.
No,
That's
not
what
even
that
once a week. Every day. Every day. He was out every single day, Danielle.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Every single
every
day.
single day he was out for a majority of the day. Then he had to self-report. So he was out literally, folks, raping girls with his ankle bracelet on. And then he just kind of casually self-reported. And then when it came to probation, he kind of like didn't check in with his probation officer. They kind of just let him do what he wanted to do. So, I mean, it should infuriate, like, my brain just, like, kinda, like, for a
Yeah,
second,
it I
'cause
mean,
I
it
I was like, must
yeah.
suppress murderous thoughts."
And then, we have this, which is, at least there are some countries that actually give a shit. That, in some countries, pedophilia, sex crimes, uh grifting, selling secrets, all of which was happening inside of the Epstein syndicate, by the way. So here we have UK police have launched an investigation into former British ambassador to the United States, Peter Mandelson, who we've talked about ad nauseum, after the US Department of Justice released the emails last week that indicate he may have shared confidential UK government documents with the late financier and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The documents relate to years during which Mandelson served as a senior official in the British government, nearly 2 decades. Now, we continue to watch this story, and it's important because here's the thing. Keir Starmer, the prime minister who appointed Mandelson as the U.S. ambassador, knew about his ties to Epstein. It was not a shock. It was not something that he found out with the rest of the world. No, he knew. And people had told him, do not appoint that man. He is a creep. We don't trust him. And Keir Starmer, for whatever fucking reason,
"He's
said
my
to him,
friend, he's my
said to
buddy."
himself, fuck him. I'm going to appoint him. And so now Pete Mandelson is under investigation. Keir Starmer is trying to hold on to his job with like both hands and a prayer because Parliament is looking at him. And mind you, the Labor Party has united behind him because the Labor Party has had more turnovers than I don't even know what. And they fear that this could finally be the nail in their coffin. And so they don't want to go out like that. It isn't even about Keir Starmer. It is about the fact that they legit don't want to go out like that.
And also his chief of staff quit. He fell on the sword, Morgan McSweeney. Mandelson quit, but now subject to criminal investigation, as Danielle said, because also, Danielle, totally normal, around 2009, Mandelson might have passed on sensitive information to Epstein, as one does.
As one does.
Yeah. And, again, these links to Mossad, these links to Russia, the fact that Alex Acosta, according to a Wall Street Journal report, they alleged that Alex Acosta was told during the sweetheart deal that Epstein was an agent He was a government agent,
Mhm.
and he was an asset. And so then they had to kind of go easy on him. So who is he an asset for? What government? What governments? Why is he an asset? How did he help these people? Was he a willing recruit, unwitting recruit?
And
Did he give blackmail information? How did he give access? How did he know about all these individuals and all these deals? How did he broker backdoor deals with Israel and other countries? Why did he want to meet with Putin's Russia? Why did he want to meet with all these people, these right-wing actors? Why was Peter Thiel and him talking about, like, I don't know, their post-World War II order? How did Epstein so casually, we have this on audio, literally, Epstein's the one who told Ehud Barak, the former prime minister of Israel, about Palantir. And then Ehud Barak's like, Palantir, Palintir, Palantir, Peter Thiel. Like, I don't know, man. It seems like for a pedophile, he just seems to be the most well-connected pedophile on earth, Danielle. Just
I
very
mean,
strange.
and I just want to play a clip from the folks inside of Parliament as it pertains to Mandelson, as it pertains to Epstein, who not happy.
As I say, is relevant now. On the 27th of February 2025, the Prime Minister, whilst in Washington, visited the American data and AI company Palantir at its headquarters. The meeting did not appear in the Prime Minister's register of visits. It only came to light later. Now, Palantir, we should remember or remind ourselves, was a client of Global Counsel, the company in which Peter Mandelson had a commanding share. Later that year, Palantir received from this government a £240 million deal.
British companies couldn't compete.
That deal was granted by direct award. Given the allegations now coming to light about Mandelson's conduct, can the Minister assure the House that the Cabinet Secretary will review the circumstances around the award of that contract and assure himself that there are no other such contracts, no other undisclosed meetings, that the government is going to go through all of the communications that Mandelson sent out whilst he was ambassador, messages, we must assume, some of which were sent to old business contacts, potential few business contacts, and so on. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister knew that Peter Mandelson had maintained an unhealthy relationship with a man who was a convicted paedophile, and he appointed him to the role of ambassador anyway. Everybody in this House should be shocked by it. It must be concluded that had the Prime Minister been pressed on that point at the time, the appointment would not have been made. But the Prime Minister knew, his aides knew, and the appointment was made anyway. What else did he know? Only after this humble address, only if the government treats with it in good faith, will we know that. I very much hope that it is not the case that we find that there are gaps in our security and vetting process. If there are, the government will be able to fix them. But I think it's also likely that we'll see that there were reports that consistently raised concerns that were swept away. And it will then be the duty of the government to disclose who swept them away and why. Ultimate responsibility must rest with the Prime Minister. It is time for him to take responsibility.
I mean, it's laid out pretty clear. Like, again, when I say, and it should be enough that this is a child sex trafficking syndicate. It should be enough that this is a syndicate filled with pedophiles. But no, because world domination has been their ultimate goal. And the question remains as to how you allow people who are knowingly connected with a sex trafficker to be guiding your business appointments and become the US ambassador to the United States. I just, and we had Nafeez come on and walk us through the web upon web upon web that he has been investigating. And it's just, I mean, it's obscene.
And also, folks, to infuriate you, Keir Starmer never met Epstein. Keir Starmer, as far as we know, is not a rich man. Keir Starmer, as far as we know, did never visit the island. And this is what's happening in the UK, that Keir Starmer's government might be toppled. Meanwhile, the closest friend of pedophile Jeffrey Epstein was Donald Trump. They partied together. They chased girls together. Donald Trump's name is mentioned more times than any other name in the Epstein files. Howard Lutnick literally lied to the American public about his contacts with Epstein, went to Epstein Island, still Secretary of Commerce. Elon Musk literally tried to gaslight all of us, tried to sit there and go, Donald Trump is in the Epstein files. You're in the Epstein files. You tried to go party. Like he's like that, like dorky kid. He goes, are you going to invite me now to the island? Are you going to invite me now? And they're like, no, you're a freak. But they did party. They had a wild party in 2015. There's a photograph. Zuckerberg, Musk, Thiel, Epstein. No investigations, Danielle. Here in UK, heads are rolling already. Here in the United States, where Donald Trump was his closest friend and is mentioned more times, zero investigations. Zero. Why is that, Danielle? Some would call that a cover-up.
I mean, so here we go. We had Pam Bondi, as you mentioned at the top, sit on Capitol Hill and fucking lie, gaslight. And I mean, it was like the gaslighting was so comical that she has become a meme. She has become a meme that when you ask anybody anything, right? Waj, how was your day? The Dow hit 50,000, right? Like, oh, Waj, are you going on vacation? The Dow hit 50,000.
Like, what are you talking about?
And so it is insane. But here is Bondi in a back and forth with Massey, who again proclaims, we were in this skiff for how long and found these names?
Oh, within 40 minutes. Wow.
So here we go.
The language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? It's a political joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move to the next question.
It's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question. Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
4,700, and we invited you in. This guy has Trump derangement syndrome. He needs to get. You're a failed politician. You need to get on these matters.
Chairman, please restore his time and remind.
You know what is so obscene? And I think that, again, because we are so numb to all of this, just all of their theatrics and the bullshit that comes out of this administration, is that to be the Attorney General of the United States used to carry significant weight and importance. It is an important job, right? That RFK, not the nut job,
nope,
but his father had, right? That, like, you are talking about a job of being the top law enforcement officer for the American people, not for the president of the United States. And the fact that we have this fucking Nazi woman that is there, that has turned our Justice Department into a regime dedicated to Donald Trump and to defending pedophiles is obscene. And you know what, Waj? It's been going around on social media, and I just got to lift it up here and see if you think the same thing. Folks have said, I'll help you make sense of Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi is to Donald Trump what Ghislaine Maxwell was to Epstein.
Damn.
Your reaction to that?
Co-conspirator, complicit, cover-up, accomplice. Yeah, she's his personal defense attorney, and she's his prosecutor. Her audience consists of one person and one person alone, Donald Trump. That was her performance. That was a performance for Donald Trump and only Donald Trump. She, inshallah, will be investigated. She will be tried. I think all these people will be tried. I think they're covering up crimes. Her, Noam, Hegseth, Kash Patel. I think they're stuck. And I think because she's stuck, she's going to go all in to defend this regime. I feel like she's a disgusting human being. And I also want to remind people that if you look at some of the survivors, like Virginia Giuffre and others, they said that Ghislaine Maxwell was even worse than Epstein. And the reason why they said that was worse than Epstein, they said because without her initial offering, they would have never been caught in the web. She was the one who's charming. She was the one who came off as nurturing. She was just as bad as them. And without her complicity, Jeffrey Epstein would not have gotten access to the powerful people. So Virginia Giuffre said, yes, Jeffrey Epstein's terrible. But Virginia Giuffre, before she died, she said Ghislaine Maxwell was worse. And so the question is that, yes, Donald Trump is bad. But then what do we say about the people who knowingly and voluntarily use and abuse their power to protect a cabal of pedophiles?
I mean, and just so we're clear, because God bless Jamie Raskin and others that are doing the work right now to continue to keep this in the press, regardless of how much the American legacy media is complicit, wants to turn the page, doesn't make this front A1 news. Jamie Raskin, Donald Trump's name is all over the unredacted Epstein files, thousands and thousands of times. Quote, if you spend any real time with these files, you will see reference to 17-year-old girls, 16-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls. And I saw a reference today to a 9-year-old girl. In order to make progress on criminal investigations and prosecution and some kind of social redemption, we need to listen to survivors. Quick, take a look.
His name is all over these files, all over it. I mean, thousands and thousands of times. If you spend any real time with these files, you will see references to 17-year-old girls, 16-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls, 11-year-old girls, 10-year-old girls, and I saw a reference today to a 9-year-old girl. So it is a really gruesome and grim story. And I think in order to see our way through this and to try to make progress on criminal investigation and prosecution and some kind of social redemption from this whole nightmare, we need to listen to the survivors.
You know, I just, look, Waj, the Pam Bondys, the Megyn Kellys, the Kristi Noems, in my opinion, because they are women, are even worse. Because I got to say to you, I expect very little from powerful men. I expect more from women. Why? Because they were once girls. Why? Because some of them are mothers now. But then, you know, and I'll say this. As the story continues to unfold and as there are some repercussions that are happening globally, one of the stories that really gets me is what we are learning. And I talked about this on yesterday's Danielle Moodie show about the cover-up that the royal family participated in with regard to Andrew and how Andrew's former wife, Sarah Ferguson, brought her 19 and 20-year-old daughters to see Jeffrey Epstein about 5 days after he was released from prison. On sex trafficking, on the procurement of raping a child. And in the emails that are revealed, this is a mother who said, "Oh, we're coming. Are we having lunch? I'm bringing you Jeannie and Beatrice," to then follow up with the fact that she needed Jeffrey Epstein to give her about 20,000 pounds so that she could pay her rent. And she was bringing her daughters around because she basically was pimping them out because they made him look important. So when we say, like, when I think to myself again, women and how these kinds of syndicates and cabals could not run without the complicity and the aid of women. I mean, my God, on top of which, by the way, the royal family between the late Queen, the late Prince Philip, the current king, spent roughly about 14 million pounds to pay off Virginia Giuffre. Like, that's what they were doing. And I said this yesterday, Waj, because for those that used to royal watch and for those that, have been indoctrinated into the wealth and the fairy tale and the love stories of the royals, you begin to understand why Meghan Markle was being thrown under the bus. And it had nothing to do with Princess Kate. It had everything to do with the fact that they needed to feed chum in the water to the to the journalists, to the reporters, to the paparazzi in the UK because they were hot on the trail of what the fuck Andrew was up to.
And also because she was black, the black. And Andrew was protected by Queen Elizabeth up until her death. And then finally, folks, I want to remind you all, a week before Virginia Giuffre last year, just a couple of months ago, released her memoir posthumously, Prince Andrew lost his title. If there was no there to Virginia Giuffre and her allegations, he'd still be Prince Andrew. The week before she published her memoir, where she named him. She was the first woman to name him. She named him publicly. She went, and as Danielle said, they spent so much money and so much time to destroy her. She was right, because if she wasn't telling the truth, he'd still be Prince Andrew. Now he's just Andrew. And you saw the latest batch of the emails. He was on all fours. Have you seen that one on top of a girl? You've also seen the photo with him and Virginia Giuffre that they said for years was digital.
It was a fake.
Was verified. You also saw, like you said, the emails between his ex-wife Fergie. They were like, "Oh, Jeffrey, what's happened to you? This is so terrible." And then you saw Ro Khanna a couple of days ago, this week actually, said that it will threaten to destroy the royal family, like what he's seen.
Oh yes, I mean,
not just the royal family. Go ahead.
No, just the entire, like the entirety of the royals, right? Like it is, because now the story won't go away. And one person, a royal historian, said that he believes that Buckingham Palace is not going to allow this to stand, and that it will probably be that we see Andrew flee to some non-extradition country to live out his life in some Middle Eastern country evading the law. He's like, they will do that before they allow this man, this disgusting, grotesque person, to stand trial and air all their shit out. And I 100% believe that.
Yeah, he's never going to spend a day of his life in jail. And also someone said in the Substack, Mary said, instead of being Prince Andrew, he should be Prisoner Andrew. And I'm like, that's dope.
And, speaking of women, or as Waj called her in the outline today, he goes, Danielle, I had to. And he called this woman a heifer. And honestly, it was the funniest thing I've seen.
I literally in the outline. Sometimes, folks, you just write the outline, you read, so like we do the link, and just I just use a little description. I couldn't help it. I'm just like, I could have said a lot more. I could have said.
You could have said a lot of words. There were a lot of words. That was the cleanest word.
I just literally told Daniel, look at this heifer.
Look at this heifer. And the funny thing is that, again, I had just talked about her and the fact that, again, former White House counsel for Barack Obama.
Yep.
Leaves there, goes to top law firm, Latham
Goldman
and something.
Sachs.
No, before then she went to Latham. Then she goes from there to Goldman Sachs, which is where she's been.
And a top attorney there. She's at the top.
She's one of the highest paid attorneys in the country. Let's just put it that way. The email that I read yesterday on the Danielle Moodie show was so disgusting, Waj. It was her wishing Jeffrey Epstein a happy birthday and saying, I hope that you're spending it with your one true love, smiley face.
Gross.
And his response was about spending it masturbating. And then she had the audacity to say that our relationship was only in a professional, friendly context. And I'm like, in what HR would that be considered a professional friendly context? And she signed off on her emails to him, XOXO. He has given her gifts. And then we found out in other email exchanges that this top attorney, one of the highest paid attorneys in the country, was giving him legal advice to evade his accusers and take them down. That is who Kathy Rumler is.
And 2 days ago, I remember I posted something on Twitter, which, thankfully caught some traction. I said, why hasn't this lady resigned? Why hasn't Goldman Sachs fired her? And then as a result of so much pressure, she was allowed to resign because Goldman Sachs still kept her, folks, days after, right? And other people are saying, of course, it's a woman who, I mean, that's also true, right? The double standards. A woman resigns, but still Howard Lutnick is Secretary of Commerce. But at the same time, why? Like she should be hounded and mocked and shamed for life until she actually makes amends. The fact that Goldman Sachs did not fire her immediately on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday, Danielle, I mean, what does that tell you?
I mean, it's just, it tells me they were all complicit. It tells me they're all making money. It tells me that they're all part of the syndicate. Also, by the way, sure, she's resigning. She's resigning in the summer. And I believe that she's going to wait it out and hope that nobody remembers that she announced that she was going to resign. Because by the time the summer comes, who knows where the fuck we'll be, right? Who knows what other information will come out? Who knows what kind of war we'll be in? Who knows what camps will have popped up, etc. She's disgusting. She is vile. And I am with Waj so deeply here that none of these people should be able to just casually walk through their lives without like people yelling shame, like they did in The Princess Bride. Shame, shame, shame. Just like throwing rotten tomatoes at them wherever they go. You are complicit in a child trafficking fucking like just cabal. And you're allowed to just continue to reap in the benefits, the connections, the wealth, and the power of that.
And you know what you said? Someone said, I'm reading the comments. You're right, folks. She'll land on her feet.
Of course she will.
Nothing's going to happen.
Of course she will. Of course she will.
The town protects its own. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
You ain't in it.
That club has Bill Gates, that club has Reid Hoffman, the club has Peter Thiel, the club has Elon Musk, the club has Mark Zuckerberg, the club has Prince Andrew, his ex-wife, this Goldman Sachs heifer. It has them all. It has them all. And they don't care. It was a really interesting point. My wife, Sarah, just an hour and a half ago, she's like, I was just talking about her, like, what we're talking about today, and just briefly. And she goes, don't these people have kids? So my wife was like, all these men and women who went, like the ones who didn't rape, but like they have girls, right? Like, do they not just, my wife just asked me, because did they not just see these girls as human? And I'm like, no, they didn't see, but she goes, they have kids. She goes, yeah, their kids are fine. As long as it doesn't affect me, as long as ICE doesn't come after my kids, as long as they're not raping my girls, but we'll rape your girls. Because your girls are my toys that are given to me by God or nature or Qismat, because I deserve this as the master of the universe.
And I'll tell you what, and again, because it's such a valid question, because we believe that something changes or shifts inside of you when you become a parent, a mother, a father, etc. But these people were also, as I gave the example with Sarah Ferguson, offering up their own children in different ways. Right? Like, you have to understand the sickness of these type of syndicates. Donald Trump was bringing his child daughter, Ivanka, when she was a child, around Jeffrey Epstein. Do you understand? Like, there are videos.
Howard Lutnick gave the age of all his family members.
And bringing his daughters and his nanny, right? Because Jeffrey Epstein wanted to meet his nanny. So like, they don't even care about their own.
Nope.
They see everything, including their own flesh and blood, as an opportunity to amass more and more and more. They don't care who they harm, right? They don't care what they do. And so again, continuing with the fallout, you have ex-Prime Minister of Norway who has been charged with corruption linked to Epstein. He led Norway in the 90s and had been protected by diplomatic immunity that came with his work with the Council of Europe, but that privilege was waived. Like, imagine that. You mean that they didn't have a Justice Department with some bullshit policy that we can't indict a sitting president? You mean that, like, law and order actually takes precedent in another country? How nice. Then you have this one. Powerful Dubai tycoon replaced after DOJ reveals sexually explicit emails with Epstein. And this one, this MFer is disgusting because his emails exposed love the torture video.
Yep.
The torture video. A tycoon from the United Arab Emirates, whose intimate friendship with the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was revealed in the latest release of files by the U.S. Justice Department, has been replaced in his post as head of one of the world's largest port operators. Sultan Ahmed bin Salem emerged as a powerful force in global trade as the former chairman and CEO of Dubai's DP World, which has a footprint in more than 80 countries over the past 3 decades. Interesting. Over the past 3 decades. And who was in operation for 3 decades? Jeffrey Epstein.
That torture video, folks, there's literally an email what Danielle was talking about. There's a couple of emails which are all disgusting with the Sultan. One of these emails is he thanks Epstein for the torture video. He goes, great torture video. So that means if they're, why would they joke about it? They most likely was a torture video. There was probably rough sex where one of these girls was tortured by one of these freaks. Epstein probably made a video of it and then sent that snuff film to his friends like Sultan, who thought it was hilarious and loved it. And furthermore, some other allegations that we found out from the Epstein files is there are probably bodies buried, allegedly, meaning in this rough sex, some of these girls were probably killed and could be buried in these Epstein properties, around these Epstein properties, folks. So there's potential, not just rape, which is bad enough, not just trafficking, which is bad enough, but allegedly there could be even murder, which also makes sense, Danielle, right? If some of these people with these perverse appetites see these girls as toys and they're engaging in rough sex, sometimes you go too far, you choke the girl to death. And then what? Oops, mistake. We got a problem. Don't you worry about it. No one will miss her. We'll take care of it.
And Nancy Mace and Lauren Boebert, I hate these two women, but I need to say this, were giving interviews, one on Newsmax and another one in another conservative outlet. And they said, yeah, we're going through the unredacted Epstein files. Lauren Boebert says there is a lot of weird shit in this. She's like, there is this, they keep referring to a restaurant called Cannibal that doesn't actually exist anywhere. They keep referring to things that, and she's like, I have no idea if cannibalism is happening, but I can tell you that there are very disturbing references, allegedly, in the files that they are seeing that is unredacted. She is not the first person that has said this. This has been being said over and over again. That they use, and Nancy Mace said, coded language that is very disturbing, that would lead you to believe that there could have been or is some cannibalism that was going on, allegedly.
It's like the Hostel. Well, hey, look at that. Jen read my mind. Hostel movies. I don't know if you've seen these Hostel movies. These movies.
No, because I don't watch horror movies like that.
I love horror movies because my wife.
I just follow the news.
Yeah, my wife's like, you're a psycho. I can't believe I married you. But it's a movie in which literally the rich people, the world's richest people, get to not necessarily just hunt young women, specifically women and men, but they can torture them and do whatever they want to them. So you can kill them in any fashion you want. You can eat them. You can saw them, drill them, right? And then you're part of this club, this cabal of really powerful men who gets a rush, by killing people. And you sit there and you go, yeah, that probably wouldn't happen in real life. Or Squid Games, for example, right? Very similar. Really powerful men betting on people's lives. It's a game. And these people, the survival of the fittest. Only one will survive, and the rest are asked to kill each other. And then the rich people sit there, and it's very entertaining, right? The most dangerous game, iterations of that again and again and again. The Hunger Games, right? The rich just sit there, and it's fun to hunt these people and to see people's misery, right? And then you see the Epstein files and the Epstein Island, where again, all these people went. And either A, they raped these girls, or B, they had no problem interacting with men that raped these girls. They knew about their appetites. And I'll give you another example, folks. Recall the birthday book that Ghislaine Maxwell compiled for Jeffrey Epstein.
For his 50th birthday.
Wall Street Journal reported, before we had the photos and the file and everything, that Donald Trump wrote a very lewd message, and this birthday book exists. Donald Trump threatened to sue Wall Street Journal. Wall Street Journal said, nah, we're not going to back down on this. Donald Trump said it's all a lie. What happened? We got the book. Not only did we get the book, we got the images and photos and drawings in the book, okay? You saw that Donald Trump, exactly as Wall Street Journal reported, wrote that ditty, that poem, that sick thing that he wrote about secrets. He drew it in
a
the
woman's
outline,
body, but it was a pre-pubescent body.
And also you saw the other drawings and the other photos. All those people, not all of them, but many of the people knew that Jeffrey Epstein liked girls. They drew about it. They joked about it, Danielle. So you're telling me, and this was before his conviction. This is before his conviction. So now that, this is why, folks, I try to be fair, but if you look at the latest batch of Epstein files and you look at the powerful people who are in it, I look at the date. I always look at the timestamp. Nearly every single one is after his conviction and after he is a sex offender.
So they can't, they can't pretend that, we had no idea. My relationship preceded, right? And then once he was convicted, I cut all ties. No. These motherfuckers are emailing while he's in jail, right? They are continuing with their relationships while he is on trial.
And someone said right now, I'm convinced some of these things are known as code words. If you see it, like pal is a code word. Whoops is a code word. Whenever someone dies, all of a sudden there's whoops. And I'm like, interesting. So it's a cabal. It's a disgusting cabal. And I do want to talk about this real quick because I want to connect it to ICE. Can you bring up the Palantir connection real quick? I think we have.
I was actually just looking for it. Hold 1 second.
Because, folks, the terror that was unleashed on that island is going to be unleashed and is unleashed on the streets in America.
This one?
We're going to connect it for you right now. Please.
Okay, I'm going to play this video. So Palantir founder Peter Thiel is named over 2,200 times in the Epstein files. Al Jazeera's Hala Al-Shami unpacks his ties to Jeffrey Epstein and how Palantir's AI now powers surveillance for Israel and U.S. immigration agencies. We've been talking about this all week on the Danielle Moodie Show, all week. Here we go.
Palantir is the AI firm used by Israel and ICE for surveillance. Its founder, Peter Thiel, appears over 2,200 times in the Epstein files. Here's what we found. Through their often cryptic communications, Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein revealed that they viewed crises as opportunities, flippantly referring to wars abroad. In June 2014, Thiel said that creating a mess in the rest of the world could limit U.S. intervention. Epstein also talked to Thiel about foreign currency devaluation with enthusiasm. Thiel was invited to Epstein's island, and they expressed loyalty to one another, like in this 2015 email, where Thiel reassured the convicted sex offender that he was not at all intimidated by bad press. Epstein frequently connected people to Thiel, notably Israeli politician Ehud Barak. In recently leaked audio from 2013, Epstein encouraged Barak, at the time Israel's defense minister, to look into Palantir. Today, Israel is one of Palantir's most lucrative clients. Palantir provides predictive policing technology and artificial intelligence for automated decision-making, according to a 2025 UN report. When asked in 2024 what he thought of the Israeli army using AI to bomb Gaza, here's what Thiel said.
Broadly, the IDF gets to decide what it wants to do, and that they're broadly in the right.
Palantir's biggest profits are from the U.S. Department of Defense, which has committed to spending $2 billion. The Department of Homeland Security has allocated over $300 million to Palantir. By January 2026, ICE had adopted Palantir's tracking tool called Elite, which extracts addresses from healthcare data to locate immigrants, as reported by 404 Media, based on internal ICE documents. Despite the evidence, Palantir claims on its website that it is not a surveillance company. We're obliged to point out that being mentioned in the Epstein files is not evidence of wrongdoing, but from what has been made public, it's clear the convicted sex trafficker had a close relationship with Thiel and took an interest in his business. A business that's still thriving with its contracts with the world's richest and most powerful entities, which critics say pose real dangers to vulnerable people.
And just to boot, Palantir made $1.8 billion in 2025 by helping ICE deport people. A wise man by the name of Hugh Anthony Craig III once wrote, "If money is the root of all evil, I'd like to be a bad, bad man." It's a mission statement that Palantir CEO Alex Karp and the company's shareholders apparently believe in. Palantir makes its cash the old-fashioned way, selling military intelligence software, scouring data mine for unsuspecting members of the public, surveillance tech, and hostile AI solutions to some of the world's most repugnant government organizations and financial institutions. The folks responsible for the company's products may not sleep well at night, knowing that they've made what they've made possible. But I'm sure the unthinkable amount of money they've made from creating tools to make human misery more efficient likely soften the burdens of their heavy consciousness. Palantir earned a record $1.855 billion in revenue from the American government in 2025. The company said in an earnings report that exceeded market expectations. We also did this while supporting in critical manner some of the most interesting, intricate, unusual operations that the U.S. government has been involved in, many of which we can't comment on, but were the highlight of last year and were highly motivating to all of us at Palantir, CEO Alex Karp said on the investor call. Palantir's motivating business with the U.S. government grew 55% year over year in 2025. In just the last 3 months of the year, Palantir made $570 million in revenue with 66% growth year over year.
According to the Wall Street Journal, just a couple of days ago, Palantir posted record quarterly revenue of $1.41 billion.
And so, where is all of this heading? What is all of this leading to? And this is why I've continued to try and make sense. And Waj and I, Waj on the left hook, me on the damn digest, us together are trying to connect all of the dots, take you through this really sordid web that is so much that it is mind-blowing. It is disgusting. And as Pam Bondi said, well, my God, if we were to investigate everyone, it'd bring down the entire system. Yeah, that's the fucking point, because the entire system is rotten to its core. So what is happening, right? What is happening at the aid of Palantir? What is happening at the aid of these super billionaires who were all connected to the disruption and the breaking apart of democracies? For the first time, over 70,000 people are in ICE detention. Over 7,000 of them have been in custody at least 6 months, including 79 who have been held for 2 years. ICE detention isn't just numbers, it's geography. 237 facilities nationwide, network roughly doubled, now fully mapped out at detentionreports.com with facility comparisons and contract archives. And you can see on this map where they are. Here's what else is happening, because again, these are, by the way, folks, warehouses that are being built. They are not prisons.
This was yesterday, folks.
Yeah, they are not prisons that are being built. They are warehouses. Waj, I cannot remember, but he is a Trump official who said that we need to treat our immigration operation like Amazon does their packages.
Oh, I remember. Yeah. Was it Homan? Could have been Homan.
I believe that it was Homan.
This was before the election.
This is before the election. And what they are doing is buying this land, creating these warehouses that will hold 70, 80,000 people in facilities that have no toilets, in places that have no insulation, air conditioning, in places that have no access to food, no medical assistance. So Rep. Jamie Raskin says he conducted an unannounced oversight visit, because remember that Kristi Noem changed the rules and required a week's notice, right, for members to be able to show up at facilities. He decided that he was going to pop in, and he said the conditions were disgraceful. 60 men crammed shoulder to shoulder in a room 24/7 with one toilet, no showers, and aluminum foil blankets for sleeping. Despite a $75 billion budget under Kristi Noem, he describes the treatment as inhumane. And this is what he said. I just exercised my right as a member of Congress to conduct an unannounced oversight visit of the ICE field facility in Baltimore. The staff I met with respected my right to visit, but what I saw was disgraceful. Kristi Noem has a budget of $75 billion she should use to ensure humane conditions, but we saw 60 men packed into a room. They sleep like sardines with aluminum foil blankets. Whether it's for 3 days or 7 days, nobody would want a member of their family warehoused there. The room set aside for dangerous criminals and violent offenders was empty. We're demanding immediate answers and actions. And I'll say this, Waj, and then turn it over to you. The question that I continue to ask, and I'm not an attorney, right? But the question that I continue to ask is that in this supposed sovereign nation, on American soil, we have rules, right? We have laws that determine the treatment and conditions in which prisoners, inmates, people that are incarcerated are supposed to be provided. That is time outdoors. That is multiple meals a day. That is access to their attorneys. That is in a cell with one other person. It is a toilet. It is a uniform. It is hygiene, etc., etc. Mind you that this is the same administration in their first term that went to court to deny people access to soap, toothbrushes, and toothpaste. And now they are denying most members of Congress access to these detention centers, which see no lawyers, no doctors, etc. I don't know, Waj, how many more fucking stories we need to hear to know that these are concentration camps before judges actually shut them down. I don't understand it.
We have the Eighth Amendment. People always forget. Eighth Amendment prohibits, quote, cruel and unusual punishment, generally interpreted to forbid torture, barbaric treatment, and unnecessary and wanton infliction of pain. Of course, though, we have somehow allowed the death penalty and also solitary confinement that has destroyed so many men and women, specifically men who are incarcerated. We also have these warehouses, as described by Jamie Raskin. And folks, some breaking news that happened just about 40 minutes ago. ICE plans to spend $38.3 billion turning warehouses into detention centers, converting warehouses into these detention centers. And that $38 billion budget is more than the total annual spending for 22 states. So we have no money to expand Obamacare subsidies. We have no money for healthcare. We have no money for public education. But ICE has $75 billion given to it, thanks to the big, beautiful bill. And they're using $38 billion to convert these warehouses into detention centers. However, some good news. is that even Republicans now are saying not in our state. Even some Republicans are like, no, 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 this is a waste of money, can't happen. And furthermore, the poll that came out yesterday, the AP poll, 60% of Americans now, 60% have an unfavorable view of ICE. What have we been saying on the left hook for 3 weeks? If you message on this, that number will go from 40 to 46, where it was 2 weeks ago, to 52. It is now 60%, Danielle. And Democrats, especially the leadership, some Democrats have. Van Hollen has, Khanna recently has come out and done it, AOC, and others. Representative Mejia, who won in the New Jersey 11th district to be the Democratic representative of Governor Cheryl's seat, abolish ICE, right? You tell me, with what you just learned, folks, about ICE literally converting these warehouses into concentration camps, spending $38 billion, and also killing 2 American citizens, and covering up their murders, and calling them, wait for it, domestic terrorists. Why do we need ICE, Danielle?
Also, on top of which,
or DHS, forget ICE.
a number of them have, more than a dozen, right, have been found guilty just recently of sex trafficking.
Oh yeah, that happens also in CBP. Sex trafficking.
Right? Is the sex trafficking the rape that is happening on the inside? So, folks, it's just
murder. We also found out a couple of weeks ago an autopsy done of the Cuban immigrant in detention in Texas. He just didn't die. It was homicide. All right. So they have been killing people in detention for years. And folks, just to raise your blood pressure, we promised it. Do you have that tweet that I showed about this company, the stock of these companies that are rising despite everything we've said? Who is profiting off this? The Time magazine tweet.
Hold. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yes. Okay, I just found it. Hold on.
Danielle?
2 of ICE's biggest contractors for operating detention centers hailed new growth opportunities as their revenues reached record levels in 2025. What did we tell you when Donald Trump was inaugurated this second time? What stocks went through the roof? The private prison industry.
The night of
went through the roof. So, what do you all think the plan is? You have the Epstein Syndicate, which Donald Trump is absolutely a part of. Peter Thiel is a part of surveillance.
Absolutely.
You have a president that has absolutely zero morality, zero values. Their desire was to disrupt, break apart democracy, create a sense of lawlessness, so that, one, Jeffrey Epstein could just operate his pedophilia in full view of the world and doesn't have to hide anything. That Peter Thiel could create his micronations and fiefdoms and make as much money as possible because, as he said, democracy just isn't compatible with capitalism. And they're building more warehouses. And let me tell you, it ain't for the undocumented. It ain't for the immigrants. It is for us. Last thoughts to you, Waj.
I'm subbing in. I'm subbing in, but Joy is on the road today in Chicago. So she's asked me to come in as a co-host. Essentially, I'll just be there as a guest. But if the internet goes down, then I'll just jump in as a co-host, right? And so we have Representative Jeffries apparently who's coming on, and Representative J. Paul. And I want to ask Representative Jeffries, if I get a time to question him, I want to ask him, why do you still support ICE? How can you make the case with a straight face to the American public that our taxpayer money should go to this lawless organization that is spending $38 billion to create concentration camps and kill people with impunity? Why? Why are we still sending money to Israel, Danielle? Why are we still supporting AIPAC that just destroyed the centrist Democrats' best chance in New Jersey, District 11, right? Why are we supporting Palantir? Why are Democrats, literally, after everything we've said, folks, in 2025, February 13th, 2026, Democrats are taking money from Palantir. You know who hasn't renounced Palantir or Peter Thiel yet? Gavin Newsom.
Why? Why would he? Because he takes money from them. So, like, if you have an opportunity to talk with Jeffries, you ask him about ICE. And
Let's see if they let me. Let's see if they let me.
if you get the luxury of a second question, ask him why he has no plan for Democratic activation around the supposed State of the Union, and why he told Democrats not to go to Minnesota when we could have used their faces and their platforms on the ground as 2 citizens were murdered and as people are under occupation there, because I don't give a fuck what Homan said yesterday.
Did he say that? Not to
about
go? I know about the apparently there's no plan of activation. Apparently, Democrats are supposed to be civil during the State of the Union. But was that the party line not to go to Minnesota?
It was his line.
God, he's useless. He's useless.
So,
I don't think.
And on Bavy, you could say it's not coming from me. I think you're fine. My co-host Danielle, however, thinks you're a piece of shit, and at some point is going to think that she should run against you. I'll move so that I can.
My co-host thinks you're useless and a piece of shit. Not me.
Not you. And I would never use that language. I'm a good Muslim
not
man.
me.
You follow that up.
Say that. My co-host Danielle Moodie says you're useless and ineffectual and a piece of shit bought out by corporate media. Not me.
Not me. It's her.
It's her.
I am a devout Muslim man.
Yeah. And she'd be like, so I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna let me question him. I hope they do. Yeah, I hope they do. Let's see. But folks, that'll be at 6, at 4 o'clock. At 3 o'clock, I have Ellie Leonard and then Lev coming on talking about the latest in Epstein files. At 2 o'clock, I have a fantastic reporter from Verge who did a really good deep dive about what we've talked about last week, about how Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein class deliberately killed the Me Too movement because Me Too held them accountable. Danielle, tell us about what you're doing the rest of the day.
So I am actually, I think for the first time around 3 o'clock today, I'm going to be joining Don Lemon's show, which is being hosted by a group of different hosts, because unfortunately he's at court today dealing with the indictment that he got for, being a journalist.
For being a black journalist?
For being a black journalist. So I'm going to be on the Don Lemon show, which is going from, I think, 2 to 6. They're streaming from 2 to 6 p.m. And I think I'm going to be on at around 3 p.m. on Don Lemon's channel for the first time, folks. So do check that out. But as always, democracy-ish. We will be back on Monday, 12 p.m. Eastern. Go watch Waj's 700 interviews. Catch up on the Danielle Moodie show. I did a lot of deep dives this week, and a lot of over an hour long shows like we've been doing here, because there's just so much. There's too much to pack in. Friends. But yeah.
And also, okay, actually, to Danielle's point, I just want to make sure some fact check. She was on point. Some House Democrats say they plan to defy instructions from House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries not to protest Trump during his State of the Union address on February 24th. Those are the progressives, because they said, yeah, last year really didn't work out as envisioned.
Oh, you mean those stupid fucking paddles that they had? You mean the stupid fucking paddles? Yeah.
Yeah. And Jeffries said, attend the speech with silent defiance or skip it. Yeah. Useless. Okay, I'm so glad that Danielle's going to be there at Don Lemon. Danielle, tell people how they should support you.
Yes, friends, like we say every week, Waj and I, this is independent media. We are people powered, which means that your dollars, your cents go a long way in allowing us to do the work that we do. We keep our content free. So even if you do not have the ability to become a paid member of this YouTube channel, become a paid subscriber to the Left Hook or to the Damn Digest on Substack, please do just like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe for free everywhere. At the Left Hook, at Waj's YouTube, on this YouTube page, on our Substacks. But if you have the ability, you have a few bucks, as so many people did today with super stickers and super thanks and gifted memberships. We appreciate every single one of you. So please, do continue the supporting of independent media right now matters more than pretty much anything else.
And I don't know why we have 8,800 people watching. I think Substack, I think the only thing I can make sense of 2 days ago, I think they went live with their the Substack app on televisions. So I think people might be watching us from smart TVs. That's the only thing I could think of.
Hi, we're on
Yeah.
TV.
So I think that's it, because there's been a huge spike in
Yeah,
the
there's
past
been a
few days.
huge swing.
So that must be it. I think Apple TV, exactly. Jonathan saying Apple TV, and I think there's apps on Apple TV and some smart TVs. So either way, welcome anyone who's watching. Thank you. I heard Apple Plus. Yep, Apple TV. So thank you all for watching. 8,700, 8,800 people watching. Folks, if I
Incredible.
can, please subscribe to Danielle Damn Digest. It's free. Subscribe to The Left Hook. Go to Danielle's YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. Everything is free. I have a 25% off special still, thelefthook.substack.com/special. 25% off. So if you become a paid subscriber, use that link. I'm giving you money. Instead of the $5, do the $3.75. It's forever. And join that as well. Thank you all for watching. I'll be back at 2. Go see Danielle and Don Lemon at 3 and at 6 o'clock. Let's see if I can co-host with Joy and don't get her in trouble with Hakeem Jeffries and a few other people.
Amazing. I'm so tuning in to that. Just text me a get out of jail free card.
I'm like, my co-host Danielle thinks you're an ineffectual piece of shit. Not me.
What do you say to? What's your response to that?
Are you an ineffectual piece of shit?
All right, friends, have a great weekend. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And please, oh, please, oh, please, don't be a fascist. We'll see you all over the place, but back here, 12 p.m. Eastern on Monday for Democracy-ish. Be well.